Today's topic is how to brainstorm. If you've got 5 minutes, I've got 5 tips to help you get it right. Well, you've probably heard about brainstorming. You probably heard about it in elementary school. You've probably been using it from time to time. And most of the time, when you look at definitions of brainstorming, you'll see it described as an activity for groups of people. Oftentimes, brainstorming is used in business groups, for example, to solve problems, come up with new ideas, look at new ways of doing things. And there are conventions around how to do that when you're doing it in a group. That's not what I'm talking about today. I'm talking about individual brainstorming that you will use. Now, this is the first of 2 videos. This video, I'm going to talk about some of the more technical aspects of how to do it. And in the next video, I'm going to talk about how to use brainstorming to either avoid or get around writer's block. But today, let's just look at how you're going to do it and do it better. Before I get started with the 5 tips, let's look at an actual definition so we all make sure we're on the same page and we know what brainstorming is all about. Brainstorming is a creative process for generating ideas by using uncensored, non-linear thinking to produce as many ideas as possible in the shortest time frame. So you might be using brainstorming to jumpstart a project or to get around a problem within a project that's already ongoing. But before we get to how you apply that and how you would do it within those situations like writer's block, let's just talk about 5 things that will help you do it better. Tip number 1, get comfortable with the idea that there are no bad ideas. This might be the most fundamental part of brainstorming, is that you don't censor the ideas, that you have in your mind the concept that any idea you come up with, any crazy harebrained idea at this stage is fine and need not be discarded. Don't discard anything. This is a process where you just don't discard any ideas. Keep those ideas, but you got to get it in your head first that there are no bad ideas. Tip number 2, set yourself a clear objective or goal. Now, this is important because you also need to kind of focus your brainstorming. There may be no bad ideas, but it has to all be focused around a particular project, for example, or a particular problem that you're having in a project. So set that goal for yourself, that this is the problem that I'm trying to solve with my brainstorming session. Of course, if you generate ideas at the time that are not related to this, just keep them aside. Don't discard them, but put them aside in a different pile as you go along. Tip number 3, this is really important. Aim for quantity over quality. This may be a difficult one for you to get your head around at first because we're not looking for quality ideas. We're just looking for tons of ideas. You're looking for as many as you can possibly generate. So quantity, lots of ideas. You need to really avoid evaluating or critiquing any of these ideas at this stage. This can be difficult for writers in particular who are maybe used to going back and editing pieces of their writing before they move on. Do not edit. Get rid of your the editor who's sitting on your shoulder all the time, and just look at your ideas and do not assess them. Not at this point. Brainstorming is not about assessing ideas at this point. It's about creating numbers of ideas. Tip number 4, allow yourself to build on ideas. As you generate these ideas, each idea may in fact generate another idea. Layer them all one on top of another and see how, as you go through this process of continuing to generate ideas, don't look for the connections yet, but as they come through, as you see one idea leading to another, let them layer on themselves. Tip number 5, use prompts. Now, prompts can help you to see, hear, and do things differently. You might use visual aids of some sort. They could be photographs, pictures, magazine articles. You might use writing prompts to start brainstorming. You might use analogies. You could use a mind map, and we'll talk a little bit more about mind maps and brainstorming in the next video. You might even try role-playing to develop some brainstorming ideas, but you might have to conscript a willing friend or relative to do this role-playing with you. Using props will allow you to see ideas from different angles and come up with related ideas that you may not have thought of before. Now finally, I can't stress enough that it's really important for you to capture all of these ideas. Write them down, put them on index cards, keep them in a notebook, use a digital notebook if you must, put them on a whiteboard even for yourself. Whiteboards are often used in group brainstorming, but I think they can be very useful for you as an individual writer doing some brainstorming for yourself. Capture them, make sure you don't let them go. One of the problems with whiteboards is that they're not permanently captured. So even after you've written all these things down on a whiteboard, you might then want to put them in some kind of a notebook or so you can keep track of them. Because even ideas, when you get to the evaluation process for the ideas that you're not going to use for this problem or this project might be useful for you some other time. So now that we've looked at sort of 5 tips about how to do it, in the next video, we'll talk about how to use it for getting over, around, and avoiding writer's block. Subscribe to Write, Fix, Repeat, and maybe I can help you improve your writing knowledge and skills. 5 tips at a time.